Right, on the last video I said I was going to be plugging the dash in, which I have, but when I switched it on, now it happened. I don't know if you can see there, the battery that was on it was knackered. I put Optimate on it and it wouldn't bring it back. It was knackered, so I've had to put a new battery on it. So in the meantime, I've ordered a new battery. As you can see there, it's fitted, but in the meantime we got rid of the bike, bought her own Harley, which she's over the moon with. But I digress again. But yeah, so now I'll just switch this pluggy back on here. I'm going to switch the bike on, and we'll test that everything is going to work. So just make sure you can actually see what I want you to see there. Lights, number plate, indicate. Yeah. Right. So oh, what the crack was there. I might just move you around a bit, see, stop that glaring so much. Right, you can see that the number plate light is on. You can see there on I'm saying you can see, I don't know if you can see it because I can't see myself. You can see there, my fingers, there's the white light. That's obviously down for the number plate, and hopefully, hoping I can see in that screen from here, the brake light should, yeah, that's the brake light coming on. Indicator wise, oh, I don't like that one. I don't know what that looks, just let me get past here, I don't know what that looks like in there. No, I don't like the look of that. That's something not right about that. Stop that one, put that one on. No, that's the same. I wonder, you can see that. Yeah. I wonder, not actually, put that on. Right, I'm just going to lift you off this thing again and show you the front indicators on. There. Turn the screen around. Right, that's, as you can see, that's the indicator in the mirror. Headlights obviously on. Oh, just get myself around here. Switch that off. Switch this side on. As you can see there, I'm not happy how they're flashing though. And just another one, high-low. You can see the light on the tyres and the poster thing there. So high-low's okay. Oh, horn's alright. Right, the only thing is, I'm not happy with these. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to ratchet another couple out, different type, because I have a few different sorts of these. And I'm going to just swap one over, so I'll just knock you off for a sec, I'll come back in a minute. Right, I'm back. Now then, what I've got here, it's the same thing for these, when you put on LED indicators. It's like a flasher, but it puts the it tries to trick the system into thinking that it's not LED, so it doesn't hyper flash. With these ones, it's got an adjustable. The bit in there is adjustable, Now, to be fair, they're the ones that I usually use, not these ones that's on the bike. So what I'm just going to quickly do, I'm just going to change one side. I'll just unplug one side and plug it into the one I've just shown you, and then we'll switch it back on again and see. In fact, I'll just leave you running. Just turn that screen. Right, so B and L. Right, I'm going to pull the ones off for this side. Yellow and black. Yellow and black was the B, and the other one was just for the live load. Right, so I've just unplugged this one there and plugged this one in, because I'm just not happy the way that's flashing. It's not flashing smoothly like it should be. So I'll just turn that again, get the key, switch it back on. That didn't look too promising either. Right, so indicate. See, that's hyper flashing that. Something's not right. That's hyper flashing up there, so if I knock that one off, just put that side back on. See how that set off weird? And then sort of went on to a steady flash, but not smooth. It's still not a smooth flash, that. It's not putting any warnings up on the dash, because what you'll find sometimes, if you've got a bulb out, the indicator light will sometimes stay on the dash. But there's no coming up on there, so it's not. There's no untoward, so to speak. That's a bit weird, is that? I mean, everything's right, obviously, or it wouldn't work. Wiring wise, I mean, everything's correct on the wiring, because if it wasn't, the lights wouldn't be on, it wouldn't indicate, etc. So, what I did notice then, I just put that in service mode then, when it was all flashing, I don't know, because I have to look back on the video when I do it on the computer, that, I don't know if that flashed, but on the dash, the indicator light didn't flash for this side, which is the one I've just changed the relay on. So, what I might end up doing here is I'm going to take that relay off. I'm going to call it a relay. It's not a relay. It's like basically a flasher unit. What I'm going to do, I'm going to disconnect it. I'm going to get a piece of wire, and I'm just going to run the wire between the two connectors and just bypass the relay block, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to bypass that and see if it actually works without one of them on. Because I've had it once before where I did a bike and put these relays on, and it wasn't working 100%. When I took the relays off completely, like wired it through, it worked fine anyway. So I wonder if this one's going to be the same. I can't see it, but I'm going to try it. I've not had a Harley this age where I haven't had to have the on for LED indicators, but I'll give it a try anyways. Right, I'm just going to knock you off for a minute while I get a bit of a loop wire sorted, and I'll come back. Right, you can see that I've left it unplugged. Basically I've just shoved a wire in either way, so basically what that is now, that is back to its original, as if I'd never cut it down further down in there, if you know what I mean. So we'll turn her on and we'll see what happens. Right, here we go. Just turn that round so I can actually see. I don't know what the hell happened there. Right. Right, that's hyper flashing. Well, yeah, you can see that. I can see it on the screen myself. So that's definitely hyper flashing. So, I can't understand that, to be truthful. I don't like the way it's flashed. I've still got this side plugged in to one of them flashers. Now, even though it's slower, it's not hyper flash, it's not a smooth flash. It's like skittish. It's hard to explain, but it's not. I'm not happy with it. It's not right. So, although I slagged it off earlier, I might have to go down the resistor route. Might have to put a resistor on. I've got some resistors, so I might just try that. So let's switch it off again. Right. Right, I'm just going to knock you off for a second and ratch one of my resistors out, so I'll come back in a minute. Right, got a resistor. Now the resistors are 50 watt, 6 ohms. So I'm just going to bodge this in. I'm not going to do a proper fitting, I'm just going to bodge it, because obviously if it doesn't work I'm not wasting my time fitting it properly. So, codge it into there. It wants to be on. That should do. Right, I'll just lift you off and show you what I've just done there. Now resistors are sort of in line. So what I've done, you can see there, I've shoved, that's the resistor wire there, that red one. I've shoved it into that plug there, and the other end I've just clamped onto the earth on the battery, because basically your resistor goes into the line and the earth's out at the other side, and it builds up power in there so that the system doesn't think that it's running LEDs, because the LEDs draw that much littler power than a normal incandescent bulb. Right, let's switch her on and give it a go. Can't see. Right, so here goes. Let's have a indicator. Now that's how it should be. That's correct. Make sure the handlebars, mirror one's working fine. I don't know if you can see my hand. No, you can't. But the mirror, I'll take you off and let you have a look. The mirror's also working correctly now. But it's smoother, if you know what I mean. It's not. It seemed a bit skittish. In fact, I can't think of the correct word to use. But it just wasn't right. So it looks like I'm going to be using resistors. Now, I was on about resistors get warm. So I buy the best resistors that I can. That have got a big heat sink on them. I mean, that's been flashing for about a minute and it hasn't got warm yet. So what I might do, actually is just knock you off a second. I'll knock this indicator off. Knock the bike off. Right, and I'll move you to here, and I'll show you what the. So I can get this thing undone. Right, as anyone who's watched these videos will know, I'm just going to get myself out to the side. Right, I'll just pull this resistor off. That's the resistor. There's a decent sized heat sink on it, but I've got a bit of an idea here. Now, these boxes are bolted underneath. As anyone who's watched the videos will know, they're bolted to a little plate. So what I'll do is I'll undo these, and I might get a block of aluminium and make a block that's drilled so I can bolt it to this bit of the frame where these are bolted on. But I'll drill the pattern on it for these. This is the mounting holes for this for the resistor, the heat sink body should I say. Put a bit of like heat sink paste, mount it onto the aluminium block, and then, because by rights, the height wise, I mean that's, you can see there how massively lower than that it is. So even on a lump of aluminium, it's still only going to be, even if it brings it up to the same height, it won't bother me. But it'll give it that extra cooling. So, I think that's what I'm going to do. Because I'm definitely not happy with the way they're flashing on this bike. And to be truthful with you, I've done, I'm not going to say hundreds of bikes, these conversions, but I've done at least, oh Christ, I've done at least 25 to 30 bikes where I've converted them to LED indicators. Now on the newer Harleys, you can actually reset it all with using the flashers. Put the flasher system on, like the hazard warnings, get all the LEDs put on, switch the bike on, press both side indicators, it sets the hazards going, and once all the hazards have ran for so long, you switch it off, switch it back on, the indicators work fine. It's almost as if it syncs them. But on the older models like this, I've always used these, or like that one that I plugged in. But basically I've always used one or the other, and I've never had a problem with them. They've always worked fine. This is the first time I've had it where it doesn't blink smoothly, flash smoothly should I say. So yeah, so we'll get these changed. I'll make some bits and pieces up, and I'll keep it up to date as we're going. So I'll do that now. I'll make a start. I'll find the aluminium bar. That'll be a good start. Right, I'll just knock you off for a minute and we'll be back. Right, found a bit of bar, about 15mm thick. It's about 35mm I think, something like that, maybe 30mm even. I haven't measured it, but it's aluminium bar. So I'm going to cut a couple of bits to suit, and I'll come back. As I say, I'll keep you updated as I'm going. Right, I've cut a couple of bits of that aluminium bar, and I've cut it to the size so that basically that'll sit centrally on it. Square it up properly obviously. So yeah, as I say, I'll mark up and drill the holes and tap this block so that this screws to the block, but then I'll drill a hole through that and countersink it and put a countersink bolt in that so I can mount that to the frame and then just bolt off at top. But I'll put some heat sink paste on the bottom and it helps transfer the heat through into the aluminium block. So I'll get that done and I'll come back again in a minute. Well, it won't be a minute, it'll probably take us a while, but I'll be back. Right, done there, drilled it, countersunk it so the bolt sits below the surface, you can see there, so that, and then drilled and tapped. That's where the heat sink, the resistor will sit on, and I've actually mounted the resistor on the other one, so you can see this bolt sticking through the other side and the threaded holes. So that'll bolt down onto the frame using this bolt here, and then obviously the resistor can bolt on top of this aluminium block with some heat sink paste on it. So what I'll do now is I'll take the old relay things off, and I'll get these blocks, I'll unmount this again and I'll get these blocks bolted on, but when I come to do that part I'll switch it on and we'll show them going on. Okay, back in a minute. Right, I've obviously unplugged the two relays and I'm just putting these in. These are the original bolt holes that the relays were bolted to, and it's a bolt hole that was already in the frame. So that tightens down nicely. And just stay down there for a second or two, all the way. Now then, by rights, should be a couple of Now I haven't put any paste on yet. Just doing this to show. So that's, basically I'll bend that down there. That can go in with the yellow ones. Same for the blue, purple, whatever colour you want to call that. And then the other two ends I'll loop round and I'll bring an earth on for them, which will be rather cool. So yeah, and then they'll work properly then. I mean, we've already seen when one of them was plugged in, it was flashing smoothly and at the right sort of speed. So yeah, so what we've done, took off the relays. If I grab one of the relays, you can see by, well, you maybe can't, but it's definitely still lower. The height of this is lower than what the height of that was once you get all the bracket and everything bolted in. So yeah, we've removed them relay, flasher unit, whatever they're actually meant to be called, and we're going to use heatsink. We're not going to use a heatsink. We're going to use a resistor that's got a big heatsink on it, because you want to buy the biggest. The resistors you use, you want to try and get them with the biggest heat sinks because they stay cooler. But I'm going to mount these, as you know, to these aluminium blocks that I've just made. But I'll put heat sink paste underneath, which helps transfer the heat down into the aluminium. So we shall now, I think actually, looking at the time, I think we'll call it a day for today, and I'll come back to these. But as you can see, alright, so not charging at all. Cool. Yeah. So we saw the backlight working, we saw the brake light working, the number plate light, I showed it on my hand, showed you the mirrors, indicators on the mirrors were working, the headlights working, the horns working. Now I could have pressed the start, but I don't want it yet because obviously I haven't got the tank on. I haven't got any oil in the engine at the minute because I drained it all out when we were doing the work on the engine. But I know that the start is going to be fine, everything's going to be fine on there. But I still don't know why, but we're replacing now and going with resistors. That should stay nice and cool. My experience with resistors, to be fair, is usually with headlight bulbs on cars, to be fair, not usually on motorbikes, because some cars, when you put LED headlight bulbs in them, they put an error up on the dash. Even though they're meant to be CAN bus error free bulbs, they still put an error up on the dash. So you put a resistor in fact I might even have one of them kicking about. Someday. That setup there, that is, what size is that one? That's a 50 watter as well, but that's for a fog light. Them fittings are off the fog light. but that's a fog light resistor so that it doesn't bring an error up with the LED fog lamps. So they're the similar sort of thing to these, but set up differently. It's 2 wires comes out of each side of the headlight ones, whereas on these ones for the indicators it's just a single wire. But yeah, as I was saying, what I've had to do with resistors and them getting hot is because they've been on headlights that are running. When your headlights come on, they're on until you park up and switch them off. Indicators, it's actually on, off, on, off, on, off. So that by rights they shouldn't really get hot. But even if you sat at a road end and everyone will have been there, you come to a road end, you're indicating to turn, as an example, to turn right, and you can be sat there 2 or 3 minutes before you get a chance to pull out. So your indicator's going to be sitting running for 2 or 3 minutes, but I don't think there's going to be any issues with heat, because I say it's on, off, on, off, on, off. It's not permanently on like it is with a headlight. So, but I will restate, which I've already said, this is the first time I've had it where them relay type, the flasher unit block things, that's the first time I've had it where they don't work properly. And I don't know why, whether it's because of the alarm unit, because the flasher unit on these things is part of the alarm box. But no, we'll get sorted anyways and we'll come back to these. Right, for now though, that's it. I'll catch you later.